The Spin-off Podcast Network.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. We're driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/SBO. Terms and conditions apply.
When the Facts Change is brought to you by the Spin-off Podcast Network in partnership with KiwiBank, the bank for Kiwi looking to get ahead in business and in life. A bank that delivers expertise in banking know-how, smart advice for business owners wanting to invest, grow their business or diversify. A bank that adapts with technology through the lens of its people and customers. It is a bank with heart that is driven by its purpose. Kiwi, making Kiwi better off. "2024 has been a year of lots of things happening quickly. Sometimes appearing to be quick. Sometimes lots of announcements, lots of debate, and not much actual happening. But this year really was a year of things being on a fast track, and nothing more so than the repealing of the Resource Management Act, changes brought in by the previous Labour government, and the government's plan to bring in a fast-track approvals bill, which essentially gives control of the biggest decisions about how we use our land to a minister or two, and some special panels. This was legislation that did some extraordinary things in our history. It essentially put a list of actual projects and rammed them through in the Parliament, in a list in the Parliament. And in that very fast process of lawmaking, an awful lot of complaints were made about the risks of putting that power into the hands of ministers could do to our corporate and political cleanliness, shall we say it. New Zealand doesn't have an independent commission against corruption. New Zealand regularly features at the right end of the lists about corruption and transparency. But there are many who worry the fast-track approvals bill will change that. To give you a sense of how worried they are, I wanted to play you the exact clip from the debate in Parliament on December the 11th about the fast-track approvals bill, in which Irina Williams, the Labour MP for Manurewa, says some things about one particular project going through under the fast-track approvals bill. We're playing it uncut, exactly as it was said in Parliament, because that means it has the protection of parliamentary privilege. Have a listen.
I want the Minister to tell the House how many tens of millions will Winton Land Company make on the value of their project that is in Schedule 2 on the passing of this bill. This is Winton's project. It's in very close to the electorate of Manurewa, and as the local MP in Manurewa, I have an interest in it. The Minister is proposing to expedite the process for Winton here, which also comes into contract with another project on his fast-track list. The route of Mill Road, which is being expedited by the fast-track bill as well, goes right through the middle of Winton's project. Winton Land Company has a right to buy this land. They paid for that right earlier, and so any uplift in the value of the land makes their project significantly more valuable. The option to buy becomes millions of dollars more valuable when it is expedited to become residential land. Right now it's rural land. Every MP in this House who's a rural MP knows that rural land zoning is incredibly important for those developers who are land bankers or those developers who expect local projects to progress on their land, like NZTA projects. NZTA now is being told by the Minister in this bill to purchase land which last year was only $1, $2, $3 million worth from these landowners now, which will be in the tens of millions. This is a public government entity which is now being paid, which is now going to pay out tens of millions of dollars in taxpayers' money for land which was not valuable before and is now. that is not only a private benefit, that is public money going into the hands of Winton Land Company for a residential development that they have lobbied successive governments for, and it has been turned down over and over again. Winton Land Company donated $100,000 to the National Party in its campaign year. Its board members include Stephen Joyce, a previous minister of the National Party. This is public money going into private hands. There is also an element of private benefit here which is extraordinary. We have rules which require private developers to share the public cost of their development. This development will cost Auckland Council a huge amount in the infrastructure that is required to build this kind of development, in roads, in pipes, in playgrounds, in libraries, in facilities for commercial developments. All of that is on the line here when this has been expedited in a way where Auckland Council cannot require the developer to put in the kind of infrastructure that will cost the developer many millions more. Not only have they made a huge amount of money when this passes, but they have also saved a huge amount on the infrastructure that will then be passed on to Auckland ratepayers. People in the electorate of Manuriwa will be bearing the cost of this for a generation if the infrastructure is put back onto their rates bills, back onto the people who can least afford it in New Zealand to build hundreds of new houses that will cost this area in terms of infrastructure. Yes, we need those houses, but we do not need it at the expense of the people who will be paying for it in my electorate. It should be funded by the people who are making the exorbitant profits out of this, which this bill confers on them. Not only will they be making a huge amount on the options that they have to buy overnight when this passes, straight from the public purse, but they will be making it on the expedition of their project to an almost guaranteed set of consenting requirements that are fresh and new in New Zealand. This is unlike anything we have had before. This is the closest New Zealand has ever come to cronyism through the legislative process. This is wrong, and this project should be struck out.
Well, there we have it, Arena Williams. Uncut, as it was said in Parliament. Her final comments: this is the closest New Zealand has ever come to cronyism through the legislative process. This will be a major factor in 2025. What happens to those fast-track bills? How much profit will individuals make because of the changes that were made? What is going to happen to all of the government subsidies, effectively, for projects approved under the fast-track approvals bill? How is that going to change the fabric of New Zealand's political economy? We'll find out this year on When the Facts Change. When the Facts Change was brought to you by the Spin-Off Podcast Network, together with KiwiBank. Visit kiwibank.co.nz to find out how KiwiBank are making Kiwi better off.
The Spin-Off Podcast Network.